Wade manipulated Ember to fall in love with him. We get introduced to Wade after Ember starts losing her temper during the red dot sale and runs downstairs and lets it out, causing fire to go everywhere. Because of this, the pipes break open and Wade, our love interest, comes flying out of it. The first thing he does is cry and talk about how cute her family is, and of course, she just wants him to leave. But he doesn't, and we find out he's a city inspector and he claims the pipes aren't up to code, so he has to write her a ticket. This drives Ember insane because the first day she is finally given full responsibility of the shop, now it might get closed down. So she follows him all the way to the city and tries to stop him, but she can't, and he sends a ticket right up to the processing department. She then breaks down and vents to him on how this is going to ruin everything. And this right here is when we start the adventure these two will take to stop her shop from closing. During this interaction, we see Wade express empathy towards her, or is he? Let's run that all back, but this time from Wade's point of view and not Ember's. So Wade gets sucked into a pipe and thrown into a random person's basement, not to mention a fire person's basement. He barely questions anything and isn't scared whatsoever. The first thing he does is analyze the girl's family, which is genius, and I'll explain why in a second. Wade never talks about the fact he's a city inspector because he hasn't had to pull that card yet until Ember tells him he has to leave. At this moment, Wade has two options: leave and never see this pretty fire girl again, or write a ticket for the plumbing to spend more time with her. And we obviously know which one he picked. So like I was saying about Wade being a genius, from seeing the picture and how happy she looks with her dad, he can assume that if he writes this ticket, she will do anything to protect the shop for her dad's sake. Now this could seem not true because of how sincere Wade looks when Ember rants to him, but come on, you're gonna tell me the most emotional man in the world, a man who just cried over a photo, isn't gonna cry when Ember breaks down and shares something that personal and sad? This is just the beginning of his master plan. There's still so much more, but we're not there yet. So Wade insists that they go to the processing department to plead their case and maybe get the ticket to not be sent to the big boss lady. We need to realize Wade really needs to make sure they don't win here. If they win, it would be too quick and easy, and Wade wouldn't look like the big hero to fall in love with, and he would never see her again. So what does he do? He practically sabotages the entire thing. He doesn't let Ember plead her case like he said he would. He takes the floor and tries to share her personal information without her consent, and also says the line, her father can't retire and it will all be Ember's fault, which kind of seems rude to say. Not to mention, because of him spitting out all this information and not letting Ember get a word in, she loses her temper and, well, it goes awful. And of course, the ticket goes straight into the tube. Ember takes it upon herself to go talk to the boss, and guess who just so happens to show up here? Wade. Wade tells her that his boss Gale isn't in today and is at the airball game. He was just stopping by because he left his passes for the airball game tonight. Now I really want to focus on this for a second. Wade bought 2 passes for the airball game, and obviously wasn't going to bring anyone else if he, without hesitation, gave the pass to Ember. And you're telling me he left the passes in the exact place Ember would be the next day? I mean, it's like the movies writing the theory for me at this point. Anyways though, they get to the stadium and Ember meets Gale, the big boss lady, and they get into a little feud, but that doesn't ruin Wade's chance at impressing Ember. Wade hypes up one of the players who's sad and gets the whole entire crowd to cheer him up and make him feel better, and this makes Ember give him the googly eyes. After this, Ember finally gets to talk business with Gale, and through this conversation between them, the person who makes the plan of what to do is Wade. Well, pretty much Firetown isn't supposed to have water, but there is a leak, and Wade believes that they could track the water down from Ember's shop to find the leak, which also gives him a great excuse to go back home with her, which he does. And here's where we learn about how Wade was sucked up into her basement. Wade explains that he was out in the canals checking for leaks when there was a whoosh of water that sucked him into the filtering system, the exact second Ember burst her pipes, which allowed him to escape through her pipes. This story isn't too suspicious, but it's still weird that he somehow ends up in her basement at the same time, but who knows, maybe it's just a coincidence. Besides that though, they go into this hot air balloon and look around for the hole, and of course, guess who spots the hole first? Wade. I'm not gonna come and pin the broken hole thing on Wade because I have no evidence, but because of them covering up this hole, it leads him to give a nice little pickup line and then go on a bunch of dates and get a romance compilation. Now here's why I want to blame Wade. So what they used to fix the hole isn't gonna hold forever, and the only people who can fix this hole are the city crew, and we figure out that Wade covered every single worker in cement, and I wonder why. Well, with no crew to help fix the hole, it ensures that Wade's final plan to get Ember's love won't fail, but we still aren't there yet. Let me just say though, Wade really doesn't want this hole to be fixed. I can back this up by when Ember realizes she can use her fire skills to make tempered glass strong enough to hold the hole. When she finishes, Wade starts to cry and says, "I've never been punched in the face with beauty before." While this could easily be a cute statement, the term punch in the face seemed to be placed in that sentence for a reason. You see, her doing this gets in the way of Wade's master plan. Speaking of of Wade's plans, right after this, Wade literally manipulates Ember perfectly to come see his family. You see, Ember comes all the way out to the city to get news on her dad's shop, and she's freaking out, and Wade just goes, yeah, Gail will call tonight. Anyways though, wanna come see my family? He just completely puts aside her stress and everything for his personal gain of making this girl his girlfriend. If you don't believe me and think I'm crazy, that same night, Wade says something that when seeing it through this theory's lens, sounds insane. Ember, when I met you, I thought I was drowning, but that light inside you has made me feel so alive, and all I want now is to be near you together. Which sounds kind of cute until it makes Ember kind of freaked out and scared. I mean, you gotta realize this dude has known her for what, maybe a week, and now is practically saying, I want you next to me forever? I don't know. Anyways though, Ember tries to leave, and Wade pulls the classic manipulative boyfriend line, fine, well, I'm coming with you. I also want to inform you that at this moment, the ticket and everything is done, is gone, and Gail is out of the picture. If you look at Wade's face when he's told this, he looks extremely sad because now he has to figure something else out. This hole in the wall, Gail trying to remove the tickets, this has been the only reasons they were still seeing each other, and now with all that gone, Wade has to feel he might lose her. Now if you wanted to counter my argument, the next scene is perfect. This is where one of the best manipulation tactics in the whole movie is shown. So Ember's mom, Cinder, is like some love psychic and tries to test her and Wade's love. The way this is done is by individually lighting these sticks, and if it's true love, they will combine and loop together. After the mother does this on Wade and Ember, the flames loop together, and it's true love. Maybe not though. You see, Wade is water, and even though he burns the stick through his body, he was still using the flame from Ember. And I'm not saying Ember loves herself, but two flames that are similar in the same DNA would have to have the same effect as true love. I don't know if this was meant by Wade, but it definitely scored him major brownie points. Anyways, Wade thinks he won her heart and takes her on probably the most romantic trip I've ever seen, to be honest. And after, they touch hands and are so in love and almost kiss, but then she runs away. Here is where Wade finally starts setting up his first master plan. But before we get to that, according to Google, 3 ways to know if your boyfriend is manipulative is love bombing. Wade has practically made every second of his life revolve around Ember. I haven't seen him work. He is by her side constantly. I mean, he told her practically that all he wants is to be near her forever. If that's not love bombing, I really don't know what else is. Gaslighting. Wade gaslights Ember the entire movie into quitting working for her dad. While it might seem like a nice thing to do because it'll make her happy, let's be honest, it's mostly because he wants to date her. After the scene I was just talking about, right after she runs off on Wade, he straight up tells her what she wants by saying she doesn't want that life with her dad and that she wants to work at this job his mom offered her. And while yes, this might sound helpful, he says it with anger and not consideration. And not to mention at the end of this monologue, he says, funny, I thought you were so strong, but turns out you're just afraid. Any gaslighter, when losing an argument, puts down the other person and calls them names after realizing they can't just tell them what to do. Passive aggressive behavior. This one's just obvious. Wade plays a nice good guy the whole time by acting all sensitive and crying, but this entire movie he has just been leading Ember in the right direction to date him. Not to mention how he talks to her during this interaction. Finally on to master plan number 1. Wade couldn't convince Ember to tell her dad she doesn't want to take over, so what does he do? Well, he goes back home and gives up. I'm joking. This man literally just shows up to the ceremony where Ember is about to own the shop and just walks in and crashes it to confess his love to Ember and tell her, I'm pretty sure you love me too, which is a crazy statement in my opinion. But Ember says she doesn't love him back, and we literally cut to a scene of the glass breaking. Like I said, the movie's practically writing the theory for me, and that's not just a coincidence because right after she says again, I don't love you, we cut again to the glass cracking even more. Here's where Wade's final master plan comes to play. Well, finally the wall entirely burst open and the water's gonna flood the entire city, and guess who was there to save the day? Wade. He literally gets to sacrifice himself and save her, and this guarantees her love and the acceptance of her father. Not to mention, after Wade evaporates and dies or whatever, he doesn't fully come back until Ember says she wants him in her life forever. And then boop, Wade's all good again and has everything he's ever wanted. I'm not saying he caused the wall to break, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just really overthinking.